Please don't watch this on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Please watch these instructional videos before Pesach. Welcome. My name is Ovadia Antian, and we are at Chabad House Ol Devora, which is a Chabad house in East Kilda. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to do a model Seder, which is basically we're going to show you how to make your own Seder at home. We've brought all the ingredients, and we're going to go through the checklist, and we will go through all parts of the Seder till the end, and also share some insights about Passover and about the Seder. So let's begin. The first thing that we're going to do in order to set up our Seder table is for us to select matzah. Our goal is to select 3 whole matzahs, and we want them to be as perfect as possible. We don't want them to be with parts broken off at the end. We want to find 3 whole matzahs, as whole as possible. So what we'll do is, the way we do this, our custom is to do this not on the Seder table, but on another dry, clean area, because our custom is not to eat gebrocks, not to eat matzah that has come into contact with water. And therefore, we want to find a dry area where we open up the boxes of matzah and we look for 3 whole matzahs. And we want to make sure that it's in a very clean area, without any water, with our hands clean and dry. We open up. As we see, when we open up the box of matzah, as we can see, some matzahs in their packaging, they naturally break. So we'll put this matzah to the side. And as we can see, this next matzah is also a bit broken. It is generally whole. This is how it was baked, but we'd like to try to find something a bit better. This one is also quite broken. And this is the first matzah that I found that is pretty whole matzah. Little cracks like this are not terrible, but this matzah is generally whole. What we're seeing here is just the way the matzah was baked. Matzah is generally whole, and we'll select this as our first matzah. And it's important for us to try to find matzot, according to Kabbalah, matzot that are concave. And we're going to put them not like this, rather as we put them into the sleeve, we're going to put them like this as a vessel. And the reason is because according to the Kabbalah, the matzot, the matzahs, are like a receptacle. They receive the godly light, and the items that we're going to put afterwards onto the Seder plate are like the godly lights. So we'll start with this matzah. We actually begin from the bottom matzah. And the reason is because each one of these 3 matzot, they signify the 3 types of Jews. One, a Yisrael, another, which is a Levi, a Levite, and the third, which is a Kohen. So we'll put first, and the reason that we do it in this order, we start from the bottom, is because we want it to be what's called Yelech. Yisrael, the acronym of Yisrael, Levi, Kohen, the acronym of that, when we go with that order, is Yelech. Yelech means to go, which means that we're always on a journey and we're always progressing and moving forward in our service of Hashem. So we start first with the first matzah, Israel, and we put that in. And then we look for the second matzah for a Levi. And here I found another matzah, which is in pretty perfect condition. And we put it into the second sleeve. It's important to make sure that the matzah does not have any folds. Sometimes in the baking, this matzah is fine, but some matzot have folds. As it baked, it folded. We want to avoid using those matzot. This matzah, for example, may have a small crack. However, the matzah is still whole. So we now have 3 matzot, and we're ready to begin working on our Seder plate. So let's go through all the ingredients necessary in order to make the Seder. We've brought everything here, and we'll go through all the items. The first and most important part of the Seder is the matzah. The matzah is the main mitzvah of tonight, and the ideal thing to buy would be a Morrow matzah, especially if it's handmade and round. The next very important thing to have is wine. It's important to choose a red wine, and it's also important to find on the label that the wine is kosher for Passover. It's important to have enough wine to fill up 4 such cups like this. Therefore, if you're with family and friends, it's a good idea to buy a few bottles of wine or even a case of wine. Another important thing is to have also a Kiddush cup, a bag for the matzahs, This can be bought in a Judaica shop. It has 3 sleeves, one for each of the 3 matzahs. However, if you don't have a matzah bag, you can also use a cloth that's folded over several times, and you can put a matzah between each fold. Another handy thing to have is a Seder plate like this. Some people have such plates made of silver. It's also possible to use one like this that are made of plastic. Or if you don't have such a Seder plate, you can just, again, lay out a cloth and put the items as they are organized and arranged here. Then we have the items that are necessary for the Seder plate itself. The first important thing to have on the Seder plate is the zroa. Our custom is to use a cooked chicken neck. The ideal is to grill it. However, once you have it ready, the next important thing to do once it's cooked, our custom is to remove all the meat that is on it so that very, very little meat remains. After the meat is removed from the chicken bone, the chicken neck, if you have a family, you can actually take very small parts, and each one can take a part as small as that. And again, with as much as possible of the meat removed, and we put that on the Seder plate in the area of the zroa. The next very important item is an egg, the beitzah, and we put that to the left up here. The next very important item for the Seder plate is the Morrow. And therefore what we do is we put both a part of the romaine lettuce as well as shredded horseradish on both Morrow and chazeret. So the way this works is that it's important to wash, to buy. So the way this works is that we buy a romaine lettuce, we take off the leaves, and we wash and check them for bugs. Very, very important to wash and check them for bugs. After they're washed and checked for bugs, our custom is to line a tray like this, or a plate, or any clean area with pre-cut paper towels, and to lay the romaine lettuce leaves, which are going to be wet from the washing, onto those paper towels and to dry them. After they're fully dry, take the dried romaine lettuce leaves and put them into a dry tray. The reason that our custom is to also dry the romaine lettuce leaves is because our custom in Chabad is not to eat gebraks, not to eat matzah that has come in contact with water. If matzah comes in contact with water, it's called gebraks. There is a small, very small, remote possibility that the water will touch some unbaked part of flour inside the matzah, and it will begin to leaven. And this is an additional stringency that we have. So therefore, in order to distance ourselves from that, we dry the romaine lettuce leaves very, very well so that there will be no moisture when it contacts the matzah. During the later parts of the Seder, we'll see that we eat the maror together with the matzah and the karach, and therefore we want the romaine lettuce leaves to be as dry as possible. Another part of the maror is horseradish. So we buy stalks of horseradish. They might be thin like this, they might come thicker, and it is advisable to peel them. And after we peel them, we're going to grind them. So let's look at how we do this. We buy these, we peel them. In this video, we're just going to show them whole and unpeeled, but it's important to peel them. And after we peel them, we take a grater and we grate the maror. Be careful with your fingers, and as you get closer to the grinder, move your fingers back a bit. It's very, very sharp, and it's even stronger than onions. More than it makes you tears, it creates this sharp sensation in the eyes, so every so often you may want to step back and take a short break. But it's very, very important to have this as part of the Seder. The reason why we eat the chazeret as well, these bitter herbs, is because we are remembering the bitterness that we had in our slavery in Egypt with Pharaoh. Okay, so there's our shredded chazeret, horseradish. The way we'll do the maror is we'll place a piece of the romaine lettuce. You don't even need the whole leaf. We'll take a bit of the chazeret and place it on top of this leaf of romaine lettuce. Now, being that sometimes we need a larger quantity than what we placed on the Seder plate, what happens is when we actually get to that part of the Seder where we eat the maror, if you ended up putting a smaller amount in this, or if the amount is not the minimum required amount for maror, which is a kazait, about the size of an olive when compressed, of an average olive, what we'll do is we'll have these trays of romaine lettuce, and what people usually do is they'll actually grate a lot more than this. We did a very small quantity in this video, but what people will do is they'll take like a plastic container, some kind of container, and shred a lot more than this, have enough in the container on the side, and have these dried romaine lettuce leaves, also a decent amount of them, especially if you're doing this for a larger family, have a decent amount of them and a container of this on the side. And when you actually come to that part of the Seder, you use not just the part that's on the Seder plate, but you also take any additional amount that you need from the quantity that you'll set off for the side. That's the maror. The reason why the maror is directly under the zroa and the beitzah is because the mitzvah of the Korban Pesach, the mitzvah of eating the Korban Pesach, was for it to be eaten together with maror. As it says in the pasuk, al matzot umrorim yochluhu, that the Korban Pesach was eaten together with maror as well as with matzah. The next important part is the charoset. Now, just before we begin the charoset, it's important to mention that the top three parts of the Seder plate are all part of the mitzvah itself of Pesach. They are in memory of the Korban Pesach, the Korban Chagiga, and the maror that's eaten together with the Korban Pesach. The last three items, the charoset, the Carpus, and the chazeret, are auxiliary items, accessory items to the memory of the Korban Pesach. We're going to put some charoset on the Seder plate. Okay. The reason why we make the charoset is in memory of the slavery that we had in Egypt with Pharaoh and how we toiled and worked with the bricks and the mortar. The next part to eat onion. It is also possible to use a piece of cooked potato. So I'm going to place both here, even though that's not what we normally do. We choose either one or the other, but it's either an onion or a piece of potato. There are other vegetables that can be used, but these are the two that we generally use. The last part of the Seder plate that we're going to arrange is the chazeret. As we mentioned previously, the chazeret will be arranged in the same way as the maror. And we'll again place a piece of romaine lettuce as well as a bunch of shredded horseradish on it. Both romaine lettuce and chazeret, either one, and both of them can be used either for maror or chazeret. Our custom is to use both for both. Another few items that we need for the Seder are, we're going to need salt water. So we're going to take a bowl like this. We're going to put some water inside, and we're going to just put in salt and then add water and mix it so that we have some salty water. The salt water represents the tears that we cried in our difficult slavery in Egypt. Another very important thing to bring to the Seder table is to bring a pillow to put on your chair. And the reason for this is because during many parts of the Seder, we recline. And the reason we recline is because we're celebrating our freedom from our bondage in Egypt. And therefore, everything that we do in a way of freedom. And therefore, while we eat, we also eat in a reclining format, which celebrates freedom. Another important thing to bring to the Seder plate, of course, is your Haggadah. And everyone has their kind, and everyone has their format that they use. We're using here a Haggadah that was made by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Another important thing is to have a Negelwasser cup, a cup for washing hands. And some people have a bowl, and they have another one of the family members bring it to them to the table. For example, one of the children can bring it for the father. However, many people just go to the sink and do their washing and the different parts of the Seder that are necessary with a cup like this at the sink. After we've come home from shul and we've prepared the matzahs and prepared the Seder plate with all its parts, we're now ready to begin the Seder. The first part of the Seder is where we actually recite, some sing, all the simanim of the Seder, the order of the Pesach Seder. And it goes like this. Kadesh, Orchatz, Carpus, Yachat, Magid, Rochza, Moitzi Matzah, Morrow, Koirech, Shulchan, Oirech, Tzafon, Beirach, Halel Nirtzah. We're now holding in the first part of the Seder, which is called Kaddish. What we do is we fill up the first of the 4 cups of wine. During this night, we drink 4 cups of wine. The reason for that is because when Hashem promised the Jewish people that He would redeem them and take them out of Egypt, He said so in 4 expressions of redemption. The first one of them is V'hotzeiti, which means I will take out the Jewish people from Egypt. The second one is V'hitzalti, and I will save them. And the third one is V'go'alti, I will redeem them. And the fourth one is V'lokachti, I will take them for me as a nation. We'll start the first part of the Seder Kadesh by saying Kiddush. We raise the cup at a height approximately like this. We raise it with our right hand, put it into our left hand, and lower it into a right hand which is being held like a receptacle. And we start. Savrim Anon, Baruch atah Adei Shem Elokeinu melech haolam, Boirei pri hagofen, Baruch atah Adei Shem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol om, v'rimemanu mikol loshen, v'kiddeshanu b'mitzvei sov, v'titen lanu Adei Shem Elokeinu b'yavo, meyadim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sosein, es yem Chag HaMatzos hazeh, v'es yem tev mikol kodesh hazeh, zman chiruseinu mikol kodesh, zeicher litzias Mitzrayim, kivonu v'charta v'isonu kidashta mikol ha'amim, u'meyadei kodshecha b'simcha v'sosein inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adei Shem, mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim. Baruch atah Adei Shem Elokeinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lizman hazeh. After we complete the Kiddush, we sit down and we drink the cup of wine in a reclining format, like this. The next part of the Seder is called Urchatz. What we do is we wash our hands just as we would for bread. However, we don't make a bracha. The reason for this washing is because there is a halacha, there's a Jewish law, that whenever we eat any solids immersed in liquids, we should wash our hands first. Even though some people are not careful with regards to this law all year long, on the night of Pesach, we are particular about doing this custom. We fill up the cup. And we wash 3 times on our right hand. We lift the cup with our right hand, we pass it to our left hand, and we wash 3 times on the right, and 3 times on the left, adding more water if necessary. We dry our hands, and we do not make a bracha. It's very important to remember this because in the second washing, which we'll do in the later part of the Seder, which is called Rachza, we will make a bracha before Matzah. The next part of the Seder is the Carpus. What we do, as mentioned, is take an onion, or it can even be an onion cut in half, a half an onion, or like we said, those that find it difficult to eat an onion can also take a part of cooked potato. And what we do is we dip it into the salt water. Like we mentioned previously, the salt water resembles the tears of our forefathers as they were in slavery in Egypt. One of the reasons why we do the Carpus is in order to make the children wonder. And when the children see all the different types of things that we're doing tonight, the children will ask us, well, why are you doing this and why are you doing this? And by doing that, by getting the children to be inquisitive and to ask questions about the reasons for all the different customs that we're suddenly doing, we get to do the most important part of the Haggadah, which is Magid, which we will reach soon, which is when we tell the story. This is a mitzvah de oraisa. This is one of the mitzvahs from the Torah. It says, V'higadat levincha, that we must tell our children the story of our bondage, of our slavery in Egypt, and of how Hashem redeemed us and brought us to freedom. So what we do is we dip the Carpus into the salt water, and we say a bracha. We say Bare Pri Ha'adama. And when we say this bracha Ha'adama, we have in mind to also include the Morrow, which we will eat later on. We dip the Carpus into the salt water, and we say, Baruch Atah Adei Shem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam Bare Pri Ha'adama. And we eat less than a kazayis. A kazayis is the size of an average olive. The reason why we'll eat less than a kazayis is because if we were to eat a kazayis or more, we would have to make a special after blessing, bar nefashot, and therefore in order to go according to all opinions, we eat less than a kazayit, and therefore we're able to proceed without having to make a bracha achrona. The next part of the Seder is called Yachat. Yachat means to divide. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide the middle matzah into two parts, a larger part and a smaller part. The larger part we will further divide into 5 smaller pieces, and the smaller part we're going to leave inside the matzah bag. And what we do is we take out the middle matzah, the middle one, and we divide the matzah into 2 parts. What we do is, the ideal way to do this is to hold the matzah on both sides, to put your thumb at around the point where you want to break the smaller part, and break off a smaller part of the matzah. We now have a smaller part which we put back into the middle pocket, and the larger part we will now cut into 5 further parts. 1, 2, we now have 4, and we'll make a 5th part. We take these 5 parts of matzah and we put them into an afikoman bag. Some people have a dedicated afikoman bag. However, it's perfectly fine to use any bag, like a plastic bag, or even a cloth in which you fold all the matzahs into. The custom is to hide the afikoman, and one possible place to do this is, for example, behind the pillow which we recline on. Now, some people have the custom where the children grab the afikoman and they hold on to it, and when it comes to the end of the Seder, by tzafun, when it's that part where we need to eat the afikoman, they can't find their afikoman, and sure enough it's discovered that one of the children took it, and then the children try to use it as a bargaining piece in order to get a present and such. The custom in Chabad is actually not to do this custom of having the children grabbing the afikoman, and we need to tell that to our children and explain it to them. And the reason for this is because if they will actually do that, they will get a taste of something that is like theft, even though it's obviously not real theft, but they'll get a taste of theft, and when they grow up, they may actually do real theft. So in order to avoid that and not to give the children a taste of theft, we do not have the custom of grabbing the afikoman. The afikoman remains behind our pillow, for example, or in another hiding spot where we put it, and when we get to that part of Seder Tzafun, we eat the afikoman. The next part of the Seder is called Magid. This is the part where we tell over the story of our slavery in Egypt and how we were redeemed from Egypt. We start off by saying Hey Lach Ma'anya. What we do is we hold the bag of matzahs together with the kara, and we lift it and start saying Hey Lach Ma'anya. When we finish the part of Hey Lach Ma'anya, which ends with the words Bnei Chorin, we push the Seder plate and matzahs aside. And what we do now is we pour the second cup of wine. The Manishtana has 4 questions. We ask why this night is different than all other nights. Why are we doing all these different things? The children ask their parents, they ask, why do we dip tonight 2 times? One time the Carpus in salt water like we did, the second time the Morrow in the Horseradish. And also, why is it that on this night we eat only Matzah? Why do we eat Morrow on this night? Why do we eat tonight in a reclined way? These are the 4 questions. And by the children asking these questions, we are then able to answer them by continuing the Haggadah, which is what we do next after the Manishtana is asked. And if it's many children, then each one asks his part. And what we do afterwards is we bring back the kara, we bring back the matzahs, we bring them near us again. We fold open the matzah bag and we reveal a bit of the matzah. And now we say Avadim Hayinu. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and we begin that part of saying Avadim Hayinu. And we continue about the story of Rabbi Eliezer, and we continue with Baruch HaMokam, we continue with the 4 sons in the Haggadah, and we progress until we get to the words Birchush Gadol. That's several pages. When we finish the words Birchush Gadol, what we need to do is raise the cup of wine and cover the matzah. So, as we said, we generally raise the cup with the right hand, pass it to the left, and bring it back to the right. And we cover the matzah, we cover that part of the matzah that was revealed before, and we say or sing, Vehi Shamda. Vehi Shamda la vayseinu velanu shelo yechad bilvad amad aleinu l'chaleseinu Ela shebechal dor vador Oimdim aleinu l'chaleseinu V'hakadosh baruch hu matzileinu miyadam. We're mentioning how in every generation there are those that come up against us, they rise against us to destroy us, but Hashem saves us every time from them. So we put the cup back down, we put the cup of the wine back down, and we reveal the matzah, and we continue the Haggadah where we say Tzei Ulmad. We continue reading the Haggadah, several more pages, until we reach, several pages later, the words V'natati moftim b'shamayim uva'aretz. Here we're talking about the miracles, the many, many miracles that Hashem made for us in Egypt. When we finish the words b'shamayim uva'aretz, what we do is we now take a cup. The custom is to take either a cup that was already broken, but if we don't have a broken cup, we could just use a disposable cup because it doesn't have any special importance. Our custom is not to dip the finger and drop it into the cup, but rather our custom is to pour it into the cup. The most ideal way to do this is to actually place the cup on the ground and to pour it into the cup as it's on the ground, but for these purposes now we'll just show how we pour it in like this. So as we say the words dam, during each one of these 3, we say, and we pour a little bit, dam, va'esh, v'simras asham. We pour 3 times. And then afterwards we continue the words, davar acher b'yad chazaka, etc. And then when we get to the Eluhen, we start now pouring for each one of the 10 makos. We do dam, tzfardea, kinim, arav, dever, shchin, barad, arbe, choshech, makas b'charas. And we continue saying that Rabbi Yehuda hayonosin b'hem simanim, that Rabbi Yehuda would make for himself acronyms for this, and they are, and now we pour 3 times, datzach, adash, ba'achav. After we finish pouring the wine with all the simanim, when we finish pouring it into the disposable or broken cup, we discard this wine. And what we now do is we fill up the cup, the remaining wine that's in the cup, we fill up the additional wine until we filled our cup. And what we do next is we continue saying Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva. We say the Dayenus, and we don't stop in the middle of the Dayenus. We get to three very, very important things to say on Pesach, which are Pesach Matzah Maror. Pesach is the Paschal offering, the Korban Pesach, and we speak about it. We actually don't hold anything because we don't have a Korban Pesach on the table. Hopefully this year we'll already have Mashiach in the Beit HaMikdash and we'll have a real Paschal offering. We then say Matzah Zu. We now hold the matzah in our hand and say Matzah Zu Shana Ochlim Al Shum Ma. And we say, why do we eat this matzah? For what reason do we eat it? And we say that paragraph. We then hold the maror and say, this maror that we eat, al shumma, why do we eat this maror? Because we've had the bitter slavery in Egypt. And then afterwards we say, b'chol dor vador, that paragraph of b'chol dor vador. When we complete that paragraph, we cover the matzah, we lift up the cup, and we say thanks to Hashem, we say praise to Hashem for having redeemed us from Egypt. We say lefichach. It starts, the paragraph that starts with lefichach. We hold the cup in our right hand. Later we're going to complete the Hallel. We're already saying now a portion of the Hallel, Hallelujah. And when we finish, we say the bracha Asher Ga'alanu, and we complete the bracha Ga'al Yisrael. When we complete that bracha, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Borei Pri Hagafen. And then we drink this cup as we recline. This is the second cup of wine. And as we recline to our left, we drink this second cup of wine. We're now holding by the part of the Seder called Rachza. And this part of the Seder, we wash our hands and we do say a bracha. The reason why we wash Rachza is because we're about to eat the matzah and we're going to say a moitzi. So as a preparation for that, we're going to wash our hands. We fill up a cup with water. We lift it up with our right hand, pass it to the left, and wash 3 times on each hand. We raise our hands and say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu B'Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu Al Netilat Yadayim. Custom is to actually rub the hands together as they're wet, and then afterwards to dry the hands. After we washed our hands, the next part of the Seder is called Motzi. This is where we say a bracha on the matzah. What we do is we take all 3 matzahs, the top matzah, the middle matzah, which is that half of a matzah that we still have left in there, and the bottom matzah. We hold all 3 of them together. We say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Hamoitzi Lechem Min Haaretz. We say that bracha while we're holding all 3 of them. The next part of the Seder is called Matzah. And what we do now is we drop the 3rd matzah, and we now say another blessing on the top 2 matzahs. And what we say is, we say Al Achilat Matzah. When we say this blessing, we have in mind also that we will be eating the korech with the 3rd matzah, and also the afikoman, which we have previously put aside. And we say now, even though we're only holding these top 2, the top 1.5, so to speak, we still have in mind with this blessing to include also the bottom matzah, which will be in korech, and also to include the afikoman, which we put away. So now we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Asher Kiddushanu B'Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu Al Achilas Matzah. What we now do is we take a kazayis from each one of them, which means the size of an olive when compressed, the size of an average olive. So we take roughly what's remained here in this matzah, as well as we break off a piece, about a half of the top matzah, and we now eat these bahasiva. We eat these in a reclined way. So we recline and we eat this matzah. The next part of the Seder is called Morrow. What we do now is we're going to eat the Morrow, we're going to eat the bitter herbs. And what we do is we take the Morrow, we take the bitter herbs, and as we mentioned previously in the introduction, if we need an additional amount of Morrow, some more romaine lettuce, or some more of the grated horseradish, in order for it to make up the size of an olive when compressed, the size of a kazais, which is the minimum that we need to eat. So then we go ahead and we bring from the side whatever additional amount that we need. we take the maror and we dip it into the charoset, and we dip it, and what we do is after we dip it into the charoset, we shake off any amount of the charoset that's still that we just dip it a little bit and shake off, so that we don't get too much sweetness, because the charoset is naturally sweet because of the wine. The main taste that we want to have is the bitter taste, which is the maror. It reminds us of the bitterness of the slavery. Like we mentioned, the charoset also reminds us of the slavery because it reminds us of the mortar, of the hard work with the bricks that we had to do for Pharaoh. But now, after we dip the maror, shake off the charoset, we eat them. We say the bracha al achilat maror, and we eat the maror, but without reclining, because this is not so much where we're remembering the freedom from Egypt, but we're remembering actually the slavery. So we say, Baruch atah Adonai Shem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al achilas maror, and we go ahead and we eat the quantity necessary of maror. Next part of the Seder is called karech. What we do is we take that third matzah that we still haven't eaten, and we're going to make a sandwich with it. We're going to put the chazeret into this sandwich of the karech. This is what Hillel used to do in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. He would combine the Pesach offering. He would take the meat of the Karban Pesach, of the Paschal offering, and matzah and mar, and he would eat them together. As it says in the Torah, they shall eat it with matzot and bitter herbs, that the Karban Pesach needs to be eaten with matzah and mar. So we hold it together, we say, Kenasa Hillel, and what we then do is we eat it in a reclined way. We recline again, hasiva, we recline, and we eat the karech. The next part of the Seder is called Shulchan Aruch. On this part of the Seder, we eat a full meal. We start off with the egg. We dip it's customary to dip the egg into salt water, and to start off the Shulchan Aruch by eating the egg. And now we basically begin the main meal. There are many different things that it's possible to eat on Pesach, and a meal that we can prepare. It can be soup, it can be chicken, it can be beef. It can be, for example, cooked beetroot, shredded beetroot salad. Some people have avocado. There are many different kinds of food that we can eat, but we have a full meal. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is that we don't have any grilled meat on the night of the Seder, because we don't want it to look like we're eating a Karban Pesach, which was grilled, which was done over a flame, which was cooked over a flame. So the family rejoices, and everyone eats what we call Shulchan Aruch, the main meal. During the meal, we can also eat matzah. The custom in Chabad, the way we do this, is that some people eat the matzah completely away from the table, because they don't want to get to any situations where the matzah becomes wet. And others have the custom of just eating the matzah at the table, but eating it just over a bag. So whatever crumbs and whatever falls, it's all dry. It's done away from the table. And then the matzah can be put aside, and with clean, dry hands, the meal can resume. When we're finished eating the meal at Shulchan Aruch, we're now ready for the next part of the Seder, which is called Tzafon. The next part of the Seder is called Tzafon. Tzafon means something that's hidden. If you remember, earlier in the Seder, we hid the afikoman. Well, now it's time to eat it. We take the afikoman, and we now, if you're with a family and you're the only one who had the Seder plate, then you give a little bit of the afikoman to eat to every person in the family. Realistically speaking, because a kazais is about a half a matzah, each person in the family needs to eat roughly this amount. So it's ideal that everyone has their own afikoman. And what we do is we eat the matzah, this is the afikoman matzah, tzafon, and we eat it bahasiba. We eat it also reclined. After we eat this matzah, after we eat the afikoman, we don't eat anything further during the night. That means we are going to have 2 more cups of wine. However, till the end of the night, we go to sleep, we don't have any more food or any more drink other than the cups of wine that we have towards the end of the Seder. Therefore, it's probably important that during Shulchan Aruch you eat and drink everything that's necessary, so that by the time you come to Tzafon, this is the last taste. Besides the wine, this is the last bit that we have at the end of the Seder. So the reason why we eat the afikoman is because it is in order to remember the Korban Pesach, the actual Paschal offering, which was a lamb. However, we eat matzah instead of that. So for that reason, we want to have that last taste. We want to have the afikoman there. Now, just like the Korban Pesach, the Paschal offering was eaten just till midnight. And when we say midnight here, we don't mean 12 a.m. exactly. You see, because the way it is that the day is divided into 12 hours, but it's different in summer and it's different in winter. So you need to consult the Zmanim charts. You need to see the times of when Chatzot is, when midnight is during in whichever location you're in during Pesach. But when Chatzot is, which can be midnight, it can be 1 a.m., it can be even before 12 a.m. Whenever Chatzot is, we actually, on the first night of Pesach, we need to complete eating the afikoman, this part of the Seder, before Chatzot. We then have the custom of pouring kos shel Elio, the cup of Elio. What is the cup of Elio? Basically, we pour a glass of wine. Usually it's the custom to have a very nice cup, and many people buy a special large silver cup for the cup of Elio. We pour that cup. We don't have a large silver cup here, so we're just going to use the sample cup. We fill up an extra cup of wine on the side. This cup is not drunk as part of the 4 cups. This is an additional cup. The reason for this cup is because Elio is the one who testifies that the Jewish people indeed keep the milah. And the milah, the circumcision, is a condition for eating the Korban Pesach. Someone who is uncircumcised is not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach. And another reason for the cup of Elio and the connection to milah, to circumcision, is because on that night when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim is when they all circumcised themselves. We're now ready for Beirach. Beirach is benching, saying grace after meals. So the first thing we do is we pour the 3rd cup of wine. And after we do so, we say Shir Amalot. Now, many people like to sing it, Shir Amalot. Okay, and once we finish the 3 paragraphs, Livnei Korach and Avarcha, we're ready for Mayim Achronim. We take a cup, it can be a small cup like this, or it can be a larger cup, and we fill it with water. And then we pass the water over the tips of our finger. And then, during the year, what we normally do is, during the year, we usually pass it over our lips and wash the lips with the water that's at the tip of our finger. But it is Chabad custom not to do so on Pesach. And the reason for that is because there might still be some crumbs of matzah left over. And we don't want water to come in contact with the crumbs of matzah. So we just pass the water over the tips of our fingers and that's it. It's customary to remove the Mayim Achronim from the table before we begin benching. And then we begin benching, we say, Vayedaber Elai Zeh HaShulchan Asher Lifnei Hashem. If we have 3 men that are over the age of 13, then we can do a zimun, in which case you would lift up the cup and say Rabbatai Nevarech, or in Yiddish, Rabbi Yisrael Merkava, and benchen, and follow the zimun as said inside. If that's not the case, then we just begin benching regularly. What we do is we lift the cup, again, with the right hand pass to the left hand, and place the cup back again into our right hand, and then we begin benching. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, and we say the blessings. When we get to the middle of the benching, V'lo nikalem le'olam va'ed, we say Elokeinu ve'elokei avotenu ya'aleh ve'yavo. And of course, we're going to be reading this from the Haggadah. It will say inside there, V'yom chag hamatzot hazeh, and then we say U'vnei Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh, etc. When we finish the words Amen, we place the cup back down, and we continue reading the 4th blessing of Birkat HaMazon. We make sure to mention Arachaman Hu Yamchilenu Liyom Shukulo Tov, because we're holding during a Yom Tov, and then we sing Arachaman Hu Yizakeinu Limat HaMashiach, say or sing, each one based on his custom. And when we finish benching, we pick up the cup again, and we make the bracha on the cup. We say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Boirei pri hagafen, and we lean again to our left and drink this 3rd cup. After benching, and before we begin Hallel, we say Shfoch HaMatcha. What do we do? First, we pour the fourth and final cup of wine. Then it depends. If it's a weekday, then we send one of the family members to the door. They open the door and they're holding with them a candlestick with a lit candle. If it's during Shabbos, obviously we can't do that because we can't carry the candle. However, either way, what we do is we open up the door. We have someone open up the door. If there's no one else at home besides us, then we go ourselves to the door and open it. However, if we have sent someone else from our family to go and open the door, we can remain seated and should remain seated and say, Shfoch HaMatcha lagoyim asher lo yedaucha. We say that part. After we said Shfoch HaMatcha, we're now ready for Hallel. We continue to read in the Agada, and we read the Hallel Lolanu, and we continue Ad Hashem Scharanu, Ahavti Ma'ashiv, and we continue Min HaMeitzar. For the next few pages, we say the Hallel, Hodu La'ad Hashem Kitov, and we continue the long Hodu, and then we begin saying also Nishmat Kol Chai, and then we say Uvechen Ishtabach, and when we get to the words Melech Yachid Chei Olamim, we then pick up the cup, and we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Agafen, and then again we drink this fourth cup again in a reclining way. We recline on the pillow to the left, and we drink the fourth cup. Being that we're not going to be drinking any more cups of wine or eating, therefore all we have left to do is to say the final blessing after drinking wine, which is printed in the Haggadah. We say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Ala Gefen V'al Pri Gefen, and we conclude Baruch Atah Hashem Ala Aretz V'al Pri Gafen. We have only one more part left for the Seder. We say L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Next year, may we do the Seder in Yerushalayim. It is also our custom that after we say L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, we take the wine that was poured into the kos shel Eliyahu, and we pour it back into the bottle. So as the wine is being poured from the kos shel Eliyahu back into the bottle, everyone that's present at the Seder sings the Alter Rebbe's Nigun. And the Nigun goes like this. Keili ata ve'oideka Eloi kayaroi memeka Keili ata ve'oideka Eloi kayaroi memeka Keili ata ve'oideka Eloi kayaroi memeka Keili ata ve'oideka Eloi kayaroi memeka.